So, if someone paid you $100 for every single hole you played this year, how many holes are you playing, Casey?
At least 500.
500?
I would think. If I can do 18 holes a day, that's
Okay.
got how much is that?
Okay. Well, 18 times 365. I think you're at like 7,000
Jesus.
or something
Oh,
close to
man.
that.
Okay. Well, I was way off, but yeah, I could do it. I'd say give
Yeah.
me 7,000 then.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, you're not too far off from the world record. So, the world record for the most holes of golf played by an individual in a single year belongs to Chris Adam. He played him at King Kamehameha Golf Club, and he played 14,626 holes in a single year.
Wow. I hope he
Yes.
got better towards the end.
So that breaks down to 812 rounds, okay? Which would be 2.2 rounds per day he averaged for an entire year.
That's a lot. Like I'm pretty gassed after a hot day on 18. I don't know about 36.
Yeah. Um, you know, I, I'm happy if I can get 18 in 2 week spans. How much money do you think Scotty made per hole last year on tour?
Wow. I mean, he probably the 20 millions or so in prize money. So if you break that down by each hole, oh my God, is it 20 to $30,000 a hole or
You nailed
something?
it. You nailed it. It
Really?
was $35,000 per hole that Scotty got paid last year to play golf.
Wow. And all of us would probably take $5 a hole any
Oh,
day.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Pay me. I'm paying them.
A local municipal golf course says it's been overrun by what some are calling, quote, hack golfers.
Has the game grown too much? Do we need more scratch golfers? I'm telling you, hacks slow the game down. You can't grow golf if people are chunking it into the weeds all day.
Scratch players?
Hey, everybody. It's Dez. Welcome to the Hack and Scratch podcast, episode number 1. Casey, it's our debut. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Hey, we've been talking about this for so long, be able to sit down and talk golf. I'm so excited.
Yeah. We always kind of said we'd probably just want to do this even if we weren't putting out, content.
I think so too. And 2026, what a year to really have a lot of things to talk about in the golf world.
Yeah, we're starting off hot with some news stories. So I'll let you take this first bit. I know you did some research. You are the better golfer, so you probably understood a lot more of this than I did on the onset. But the PGA has made some changes to their rules this year, starting with the embedded ball relief. You want to take it away?
Yeah, so this was one of the new rules that came out, which has generated some controversy online because it has a few different interpretations. But essentially, the idea is if you're in the fairway, if you hit your ball in the fairway into a pitch mark and the ball's embedded, you can get relief. It doesn't matter who made it or, what point of the round it came from, but it can happen a lot, especially on wet days. So now you can get relief if it's even from somebody else's pitch mark when previously it was only your own. However, the thing that generated controversy is people see this like, oh, if I hit into a divot, I can take it out now. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case yet. It's still, if it's embedded in a pitch mark and kind of under the grass, you can move it out. But typically, from what we've seen in the past, rules like this kind of creep towards the ultimate goal of people wanting to remove their ball from a divot. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, we'll see that taken out as well.
The step in the right direction for sure. I did have to admittedly look up the difference between a pitch mark and a divot. That's where we're at here. So, but I did get that clarification. And then I found a clip of Shane Lowry getting pretty upset about this exact situation last year. He just missed the cut right on 18. I think he hit it into a pitch mark and it didn't come out right because the ball sits lower, I guess, on a pitch mark. And he let the course feel his frustration. He took a huge hack of earth right in the middle of the fairway. So it does come into play and can clearly have an effect.
Yeah, and understandably so. I mean, you shouldn't be penalized for hitting a good shot into the fairway, or at least that's what we all think.
Yeah. I think there was another one that I just remember anecdotally. I think it was Scotty Scheffler. The ball was sitting in some water and the water collected either due to a pitch mark or maybe a divot. I couldn't remember, but it was an important moment, and I think last year, and he had to hit out of it and didn't. I think he hit it, and he's like, "Holy mud ball!"
Oh yeah,
And so he wasn't too happy about that. So that would be eventually where we hope to get to, is where we can take a scorecard relief out of a divot. That'd be great. Nice. Well, speaking of some of the greats like Scotty, maybe the ultimate great, Tiger Woods celebrated his 50th birthday. Do you know offhand who and how old is the oldest PGA Tour winner in history?
I tour winner specifically, I don't know, but I remember, and maybe this is the same person, but I do remember when Phil won at Kiowa Island that he was the oldest major winner, I believe. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if that's the same.
It is not the same. It's close,
Oh.
and that was pretty recent history. I think that was back in 2021. Phil won it kind of out of nowhere, and he was 50 years old during that, so almost the same age as Tiger right now. And then that was the oldest major winner. And then Sam Snead was about almost 50, just a couple months shy of 53 when he won a PGA Tour event way back when. Basically, what that's saying is Tiger still has a little, little left to give. I think it is crazy to think about. You always go back to his Masters win. Hard to believe that was now 6 years ago. And 44 is seemingly a lot different than 50. But it's good to see him celebrate. It's good to see him get out on a golf course. He kind of joked he's going to play all the events on the Champions Tour and then all the events on the PGA Tour. But I'd hope to just see him in a couple this year. That'd be great. The majors. If he played the majors, that'd be great.
Definitely. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one that read that at first, thinking like, oh, maybe he could play a lot more than we think, but he's just being funny and being Tiger. So, but
yeah,
looking forward to seeing him nonetheless.
Speaking of an oldie but a great playing this year, I don't know if you caught it, but VJ Singh slipped in there and submitted his one-time exemption for multi-major champions and career money list. And he is 63 years young, and he will be playing most likely on some PGA Tour events this year.
Yeah. And when I saw that news come up, I was pretty excited. I mean, I have memories of seeing VJ Singh play against Tiger when I was a kid and going to tournaments, especially what was then the Nissan or LA Open. Just watching him play was really cool. So to see him come out and try to do it, I think is cool. But I also see the other side of it where people are like, you may be taking the spot of somebody who's really grinding out there and has really earned their way the past few years. So I see that side to it as well. But we'll see how much he actually intends to use it. I think he knew he probably only had a limited amount of time to use it, and then he's going to hang up his hat. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think he'll see how the first event goes. So it is a limited exemption. So he's not going to be playing, the signature events where people are making big money. He only can play certain events, and they're lower tier, and they're the events that are happening alongside some other big PGA tournament at the same time. So it is a smaller pod that he's allowed to play in, but it should be interesting. Nonetheless, it should be interesting. I'm curious who else is on this list that could use the exemption of that age, but he could start a trend. Let's put it that way. I don't know if Lee Westwood falls into this category, but a person like him feels like they might give it another go. Stuart Sink might get back on there, and Jim Furyk might give it a go. We'll see if this is more to come.
Lee Westwood was the first person that popped in my mind as well. Him, or maybe like Charles Howell,
Sure.
A couple of those guys that know what they're doing, but we'll see.
We'll see. One of the things that probably enticed VJ to use that exemption is the money. Obviously, money has grown tremendously in golf in years past and with Liv, and we just got wind of a rising star of sorts get offered a big contract. We don't know the exact details of how much he got offered, but it's reported that it was a pretty big figure for Akshay Bhatia to go to Liv, and he turns it down. Not only does he turn it down, but he doubles down on the PGA in the US. He joins a TGL team this year. And then also when that broke, it also broke that Liv had made contract offers to Siwoo Kim and Minwoo Lee to join Liv, but both of them have also turned down the move, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and not too surprised. I mean, I think especially those three guys know that they're part of the future of the PGA Tour. And they're really kind of just, especially Akshay, just kind of getting his career started. He's been on tour for a couple years. He's won a few times on the Cork Ferry Tour, I believe. And, he's making his name for sure. And now to be a part of TGL, I think he just saw all the opportunity he had in front of him. One thing I wish, and I don't know how we would do this, but for everybody that turns down a live deal, I want them to let us know how much they turned down, just out of my own curiosity.
I think it kind of helps the case for the PGA. If
Yeah,
we knew that Akshay turned down $100 million, that's a signal to everyone on the PGA that, oh man, Akshay values this place that we're currently at more than $100 million contract. So I remember when like the theory was that, Hideki got offered 250 to 500 million. And that was like, oh man, if he's turning that down, then PGA still has something to compete with. Like there's value there. So I wish we did know. Yeah.
definitely.
We cannot go past the news segment without highlighting this. So on our show notes, which we, update meticulously throughout the week, we've had to update this now 3 separate times this week. That's how much the news has changed. It started with Brooks Koepka leaves live, and then Brooks Koepka files for reinstatement. And then just today, Brooks Koepka reinstated into PGA. And I hate to toot our own horn, but when we were talking about this last week, we got most of the details right.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that it was going to be a matter of time before guys wanted to come back. Like they've wanted to come back and play the majors. They also want to be eligible for those majors. And the only real way to do that is to either go play in DP World Tour events or to kind of just say, "Hey, Liv, thank you. We'll see you soon." And then try to get back on tour and qualify for those events. So that seems to be the way that, especially some of these big guns like Brooks Koepka is doing it. Multiple major winner. He has status on the tour, status in the sense of he's earned it. And so I'm not surprised that the PGA is going to figure out a way for him to come back because he is part of their ecosystem for a successful tour. He's one of the best players in the world. So why wouldn't they want to bring him back?
Yeah, it's a win that I feel like the PGA has been hoping for a long time. And you heard Rory last week say, "We'll welcome them with open arms," and that's coming from a person who stuck it out and stayed true to the PGA. And so, that was everything kind of moved together as one to make this happen. But it doesn't come without its penalties. So he's going to start at all the events. He's not guaranteed into the signatures. He has to play his way into the signatures, but he will start at the Farmers Insurance Open and then followed by one of his favorite events on the PGA Tour because he wishes he was in an arena, probably playing football or basketball. But the Waste Management in Phoenix is the next event he'll be in after that. So, but it doesn't come without penalties. They were pretty severe in my mind, which, begs the question, well, why not just wait out the 1-year suspension and not face all these penalties? It kind of made me excited to think Brooks wants to play now. Like he wants to be competitive now. He could just easily take a year off, wait it out, and not have to forfeit a lot of these things, which I think it's like he has to make a $5 million charitable donation, which is kind of the most random one. He doesn't get included in the PGA player equity program that gives them equity into the PGA organization. And then, like I said, he is ineligible for the FedEx Cup bonus, the big bonus that's about $100 million. So, I think someone was doing math. It's like up to $50 to $85 million of potential bonuses he's missing out over the next 5 years. That's serious cost.
Yeah, it's definitely a significant amount. But something else that I was reading was that he's made that money from Live anyway. He's made whatever he was going to make in those 5 years from his Live contract. So he's kind of been able to get out even anyway. So the fact that he's able to get in so soon, and we're talking what, 3 weeks from now or something, or a month, is pretty remarkable. That this is the first turn of somebody of this status jumping back to the PGA Tour.
Yeah. It brings up the very obvious question, which is there more to come? And the 3 golfers that could specifically apply to this pathway. So the multi-major, recent major, or I think it's just recent major winners that would have exemption are Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, and Cam Smith are also all eligible to apply through this pathway. But the hammer was kind of dropped on by the PGA. They have to do it by February 2nd.
Yeah, that one surprised me. I thought hey, here's our plan. Whenever you feel like you're done with Live, come on back. But no, the PGA Tour is really going down hard on them, saying you have until this time or else that's it. That is an interesting approach, kind of a power play from the PGA Tour to be able to limit them like that. So I'm curious if it's going to put pressure on those players or if they're going to kind of just call their bluff and hope that they can jump later. I don't know.
I think the PGA smells blood in the water, and they're kind of ready to make a move. And yeah, that definitely is a way that they can do it. So,
Well, and what does that mean though? If let's say those guys do leave Live, what does that mean for Live?
I have felt this for a while, which is I just don't think without a proper pathway to bring new talent into Live, I don't think it can survive. I think they built it off the backs of using really big names and kind of, still big names, but maybe fading talent. And I think that well is starting to run dry. Those players that were once heralded as big names and big moves, things like DJ, kind of starting to fade out of relativity. And I think once that supply is cut off, I think Live kind of slowly bleeds away. But that's just my opinion. But I've been feeling that for quite a while. And honestly, that's probably what I'd hope for.
Yeah, same.
Well, in the continued news, TGL is making its second season debut. It already happened, but it's going strong now. I think there are maybe 4 or 5 matches into their second season. This past Tuesday, we're recording this on a Monday. This past Tuesday, Atlanta Drive, the defending champions, beat the Bay Golf Club 7-4. The ultimate star of TGL and almost becoming the face of TGL is Billy Horschel, which is kind of funny, but he loves the environment. He's doing great in it. He sunk a key putt late to kind of put the nail in the coffin on Tuesday night. There were some good new stars as well, and a lot of chip-ins from the Atlanta team. The player who was kind of had a disappointing show, which is interesting, is Ludwig. Obviously an amazing player, but he had a tough night. He put a bunch of balls in the water. It's not hard to do with these crazy course designs. Have you seen some of these course designs?
Yeah, some of them, the margin for error is very, very little. And I would be in that water 95% of the time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the fun kind, and I'm glad they went this way this season, but they've kind of taken it to the course design to have some unreal elements to them where, they have these huge cliffs and these fairways that get, within, 10 yards wide and all this crazy stuff. But it's fun to test their skills. There's one shot, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called the Stinger. I think the hole's called Stinger, which it has a cliff that's hanging right off the tee shot, and you can't get past it unless you hit a nice low stinger, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun. They really up the ante in kind of the production of it to make it more interesting. But yeah, it's got kind of more difficulty to it for sure.
Yeah. Well, we haven't officially talked about this. We've talked about this a lot personally, but we haven't talked about it on the show. What is your feeling of the state of YouTube golf right now?
I mean, I love it. It's also just all over the place. I mean, you have some pretty incredible golfers, Grant Horvat, and taking on professional golfers and just seeing like this guy is so good, and you're just impressed with his skill. And then we see my favorite, the Bob Does Sports guys, who are just so much fun and have just these kind of outrageous challenges. There's just such a spectrum of YouTube golf. And I think that's why I like it so much, because there are times where I'm like, I want to watch kind of like a master style golf, right? Or I want to just, sit down and enjoy some laughs with some other guys.
Yeah, it's good. It represents kind of like, I feel why a lot of us go golfing on the weekends with friends and stuff. It's much more lighthearted. It's just having fun with the game rather than like, a real study of it. And seeing excellence is one thing, but having fun, having laughs with your guys, it's very nostalgic and kind of brings it back to your own personal experience. So you kind of feel part of the team. But I'll do a little rundown. We'll call this the Golf Tube rundown for the week. So we start off with Bob Does Sports, one of our favorites. It was a busy week for the channel. They actually put out three videos this week, which isn't usually like them. So they have a great series called Breaking 80 with Bob, where Bob tries to break 80 for the first time. Hasn't done it yet. Had one of his most famous one of his best meltdowns to date. He was actually doing quite well. And then just as we see in real life, he just miss a couple shots, you shank a couple, and you're out of the 80 conversation. But you did great. We had a heads up play against FP, so Fat Perez against Joey Cold Cuts. FP dominated Joey, and to the point of, I think he hit about a 45 to 60-foot putt. And I don't know if you know FP's patented celebration at this point, but it's the
Okay.
Euro step with the golf club. He hit it. He hit the Dexter Lawrence, the sexy Dexy as well. It was pretty good. He was definitely in his bag for it, and yeah, it was a good series. But I think he won it with 4 up with maybe 3 to play. So he won it handedly. And then the last one, which is a growing trend amongst a lot of channels, but is this the person versus the hater, which is, pretty interesting. So just like in social media across any space, you're always going to have your haters. You're always going to have your people in the comments saying rude things. Well, these series are where they pluck someone out of that comment section that's saying some real nasty stuff, has always been saying nasty stuff, and they go head to head on the course. It as far as entertainment value, it was fantastic.
I mean, and that's a bold move because you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know if that person is secretly very funny or secretly just a real hater and a really not fun person to spend 18 holes with. So props to them for taking on this type of challenge or type of golf round of whatever you want to call it. But it's hilarious. It's such a unique idea, and I think we are going to see more of it.
Yeah, I will say the common themes that I see from all the person versus the hater series is that the hater ends up being a pretty nice person. Like, it's
Yeah.
very easy to be mean in the comments. It's hard to be mean in person. They all kind of fade that way. But Joey lost his damn mind during this round. He had a full meltdown, and the hater really wasn't being that rude. He was just beating him so bad that Joey just completely melted down, had a real moment there for a hole or two. And so it's kind of funny. I think I've watched maybe 3 or 4 of these across different channels. Everyone ends up sympathizing with the hater and arguably taking the hater's side by the end of the video. So it's kind of
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'm curious to see what he takes from that for the next time that they do this and see if he can keep his cool or what kind of experience that created for him.
Yeah, I think there are going to be a lot more of these. So we go to another person we talked about, Grant Horvat, and he took on the #1 ranked amateur, which I didn't know who it was at the moment, but then I was like, oh yeah, I remember that name. It's a guy named Jackson Koiven, and it was actually a really interesting match. Obviously, Jackson's still in college. With that comes just lack of experience. It's a fairly big stage when you're on Grant Horvat's YouTube channel. And I think a lot of people that come onto these channels that aren't, the John Rahms of the world do feel that pressure initially of being thrown into the spotlight like that. And it was interesting to see how he played. He played phenomenally. I think he shot a 66 on a par 71. Grant shot a 69, but based on the strokes that they gave Grant actually won. But raw score, beat him by 3 strokes. Fantastic player. And, this highlights what you were saying, some of like the better content, like quality content or, learning content on golf YouTube. That is great.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love so much about it is seeing somebody like Grant play so well or anyone else kind of in his league. Cause I mean, you think, oh, that could be me one day, some of these guys that are really getting good, but they're not pros. But then again, I say that now and I'm like, Grant Horvat I could take 18 strokes and he'd still destroy, like it's just, he's that good. So,
yeah.
But it is cool. I think this is really a great opportunity for those younger players, like somebody in college and who wants to maybe make it to the PGA Tour. It's a great way for them to make a name for themselves and maybe get some sponsorships while they're still kind of on their amateur journey. So yeah, it's great. It's great marketing and promo for those golfers who may have to spend a lot of money to make it to the tour eventually, and that this could help them.
Very true. The other Horvat video, which actually just released today, which I took a quick look at, was another series that is great and actually featured Bob from Bob Does Sports. It's called Breaking Bob, and it's these wacky challenges where Horvat has to beat Bob with, when Bob's starting from the green, or with the kids clubs or with whatever. And today's challenge was beat Bob with one single club, which I think we almost had this conversation last week, but he chose a 7-iron. So he chose a 7-iron to putt with, to drive with, to approach, and beat Bob handedly. However, it was not so much due to Grant's amazing play, but Bob did have like an 11 or a 12 on a hole. So it was
That'll do
pretty
it.
funny. Bob's a very humble person and takes it in stride, but it was pretty ugly at points. The last YouTube channel we're going to cover today is another very popular one out of Barstool. It's Foreplay. I think they had one of the best videos I've seen in a while. And I don't normally give that praise to the Foreplay group. I think I like them a lot, but maybe just like slightly less than some of these other channels we've been talking about. But they had one of the greatest videos, and it's to your point, taking young talent and highlighting them. So they had an alt shot with Riggs, Trent, and Frankie, and they took three of the best young players in the world. So they took Luke Clanton, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Carl Phillips, and they partnered them up, alt shot, true alt shot, which is crazy to go with those quality of players being the handicaps that Foreplay is. Pretty crazy pressure on that side. And yeah, it was a fantastic video. All three of those guys' personalities really shined. You got to know them a little bit better. And like you said, it was just a great advertisement for their careers and for people to want to follow them going forward.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but those three guys, yeah, are kickstarting their career. And we already kind of know their names, especially Luke Clanton from the year that he had last year. So to see them getting kind of on this larger stage, yeah, just setting them up for success. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So in general, this YouTube kind of phenomenon brings about an interesting question for me. I've never seen a sport where people actively seek to watch what I'm just going to call standard or mediocre play. You know, no shame to any of these. I'm the hack on this show, so I'm right there with them or worse. But it is so interesting that we, as a collective, golf interested party, love this kind of watching of just average players play and seeing the screw ups. I was trying to rack my brain of like other sports where I would be mildly interested in watching mediocre play. Like I don't want to be watching, the rec league basketball, but I'll watch this. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's nothing really quite like it. And I was thinking about this a little bit. I think the thing for me that makes it a little bit different is the big moments in these YouTube golf videos, like when Bob gets a hole in one. That's something that a professional golfer does too. These YouTube golfers have opportunities to have like really amazing shots that a pro golfer would do, but it doesn't really translate to another sport like a tennis or a pickleball or something. It's not as, I don't know, elite. You don't have the opportunity to do something elite, like just for one moment, like you do in golf. So I think that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Very true. Good point. So that brings us to the next segment of our show, which is Cash or Splash, where we talk about this upcoming PGA event and who we kind of think would do well, talk about some betting lines and some things like that and where the value is. Finally, I feel like we've been waiting forever to actually have a PGA event to talk about. Obviously, the event last week got canceled due to the course in Maui not being ready to go and playable. But we're at Wailea Country Club this week for the Sony Open. It's the official start of the 2026 PGA season. It's a big one. Past winners include Nick Taylor last year and pulled it off to open up the season. Rest in peace, Grayson Murray, Siwoo Kim, Hideki Matsuyama, all recent winners of this tournament. And it's exciting. It's exciting. It might be, honestly, with the new changes that come into place, it might be the last time the PGA plays in Hawaii, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I'm sure they'll make it a great tournament. You got a bunch of great top ranked golfers playing in this one. Early view of the names, did anyone stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, Hideki Matsuyama stuck out to me. Being a past winner, he's won here specifically before, so he can win this golf course. He knows what he's doing. And I think he came off a win late in the season too, somewhat
I think he
of last
closed
season.
off 2025 with the last win of the season. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like he's actually kind of bookend seasons like that a few times. And so whatever he's doing in that winter off season seems to be working. So that's where my money would be on Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, he comes in at 18-1. So I think the lowest priced person is 11-1, Russell Henley. He comes in at 18-1. So good value there. And yes, I think he opened up, I think that was when it was back in Maui. I think he opened up last 2025 season with a win where he shot that crazy like 37 under, and Morikawa was like, I don't know, I couldn't do anything more. I shot 37 under. So yeah, whatever Hideki's winter regimen is for training, we need to get on that. He does quite well. Any other names that stuck out to you when we were going through the list?
Yeah, just looking at kind of strokes gained, especially for approach, JJ Spawn and Kurt Kitayama jumped out at me because my thought is when you play like somewhere for the Sony Open in Hawaii, it's really important that you try to get on the green in two, right? So you're putting for birdie. And if your approaches are pretty solid, then you can avoid having to battle with the wind. You don't avoid it, you just play it better.
Sure.
So if you're able to manage the wind a little bit better, you might get on the green more frequently to score rather than the other players. So those were the two other names that jumped out at me.
Nice. I did forget to mention Wailea is very famous for having one of the more penal roughs. So driving accuracy is really important. There have been a couple people that have tried to bomb and gouge it over the years and have had pretty decent success doing it. But it definitely is a driving accuracy course, which is why I think you see a player like Russell Henley at the very top of the list of low odds. The dude never misses a fairway and stripes it. So he'll be always in a good position and gaining strokes off the tee. And that's why I think you see him at 11-1 odds. So besides some of the names that we've talked about, Henley and Hideki for good reason, I also did like JJ. I think JJ, the season he came off of last year, I don't think he's one that will kind of, you see this huge slowdown after a big year. I think he'll just kind of pick it up where he left it and continue playing at a very, very high level. He comes in at 16-1. I always like Siwoo Kim in this kind of setup. He's been playing great. I know he played some DP World Tour events, and then he also played some Asian events to close 2025. Did really well at them. He comes in at 20-1. Kind of bigger odds is Aaron Rai. He's also a person, I think in his last maybe 5 or 10 starts, has a win and maybe 3 top 10s. So he's playing at a really high level. Again, very accurate driver of the golf ball, decent approach, decent putter. I think he could put together a round at 40-1. And the last one is a real long shot. So this player comes in at 100-1. A lot of people have been talking him up in the offseason. He had a great fall effort, but is this little lesser known golfer, Takumi Kanaya. And he comes in at 100-1. I think he has a real outside shot of doing something special this week. But those are the golfers I liked. I'm going to post that whole card of everyone we talked about to our X.com. And it's something that we'll do and track week in and week out and see how we do over the season. I think when we were talking the other week, we picked Hideki to close 2025 and he won. So, arguably on camera, we're starting fresh, but we're 1 for 1 for our picks. So stay tuned to see how we do for the rest of the season. So switching topics, every week we cover the latest releases, whether it's equipment or apparel, and we call it the Pro Shop Drop. So we are highlighting, first off, the QI40 drivers coming from TaylorMade, who I'm repping this week. Definitely one of the top 2. It's between them and the Elite, Callaway Elite's top selling driver year in and year out come from Callaway and TaylorMade on a general public kind of level. And this is their update to the QI line, which has been pretty successful. I think it's interesting. I think TaylorMade kind of are admitting they might have made a little bit of mistake with their last issue of the QI series, the QI 35, and they are going back to basically a design that is more customizable to the player. So they were originally focused on this, then they kind of pivoted to this kind of minimizing the different weighting options. They just improved the consistency. And now they're going back to kind of what made the QI system really great. And they have all these different options for kind of more purposeful weighting. So as a person who plays quality clubs and actually could care about the weighting system of a driver, unlike me, what does that do for you? Does that signal anything for you? Does that resonate?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not too surprised in this. I feel like for years and years, it was forgiveness. Like that's what everything was about for new clubs, especially new drivers. And, you kind of hit a point where we can't make it any more forgivable. Like we've kind of engineered the maximum that we can do. At least that's my theory. That could be way off, but I'm thinking back to, I think it was the first sim driver, the second sim driver, because I've played TaylorMade for a while now, and it have had the adjustable weight where you can kind of have it for more of a draw or more of a fade. Like that for me, feel is everything. So if I like the driver generally, but feel like I want to adjust a little bit, I like having that ability, even though in the grand scheme of it, things, it's not changing anything too much. But I'm not surprised that they're moving this direction, especially with so many people still getting into golf. They want to provide options. So I think it's a good move.
That's great. That's great. This next release isn't so much of a release, but I just wanted to do a brand highlight, if you will. This is kind of interesting. I think I'm not the only person who's noticed this, but one of the tour's top players, Xander Schauffele, wears a very interesting logo on his clothing. And initially, I think when I saw it maybe 2 years ago, I was like, oh man, did Xander leave for Live? And he's rocking his Live team logo to the major. And it was not that. He was on the PGA Tour. It was actually his equipment sponsor, and it's the one with the 3 arrows pointing down. Have you ever kind of seen that, or in the peripheral? Do you remember that?
Yeah, now that you've mentioned it, I think I have seen that. So I think at first I kind of attributed it to Adidas, but I don't think that's the case now.
Yeah. You're probably not alone in that. So it's interesting. I did some deep diving. It's a brand called Descente, and I would assume it links to descent, and that's why the arrows are down. But what's interesting about it is it's a Japanese performance apparel company. They've been in business since like the 30s, so long-standing business, but they've been primarily in really high-tech and quality skiing gear. And obviously some of those wind-resistant materials and cool, hot temperature kind of technology makes a lot of sense for golf. And I think what's interesting about it is that a company that was rooted in ski and is now finding its way into golf, almost 100 years later. And I just hope that that is a sign of other companies who maybe aren't specifically in the golf apparel business now jump into it, seeing the growth that's happening in golf. Some of my favorite collabs or releases over the past couple of years have been these collabs with companies that maybe don't traditionally do golf. So hopefully more signs of good things to come and more apparel and different kind of sponsors coming into the space.
Yeah, I would be excited to see some crossovers of some of my other brands outside of golf that get into that. That would be fun.
So we're going to take it into the next section, which some of these are kind of different structured, games, quizzes, things like that. But we're starting off with a great one. I want you to think about who really moves the needle in golf, because we're drafting the top 10 most influential people in golf. So if you wanted to, for example, grow a golf brand or a golf business today, you wanted to move it fast, who would you pick amongst all of the golf industry personalities to do so? So we're going to pick our top 5 each, which total top 10. You are going to have the first pick today. So I'm giving you the first pick. Where are you going with your most influential people in golf?
Man, what's so funny is like my initial first thought is like, oh, Tiger Woods, but he's got Sunday Red. He has his history and his legacy because, when you frame it of who else outside of golf, for some reason, the first person I think of is Steph Curry. I think he is going to play golf forever. I think we're going to see Steph Curry playing way more golf. And I think he's like a 2 handicap or something crazy. Like he's a really good golfer. And I know that's kind of outside maybe the scope of this, but I think he is one of the most influential people, especially that could be for golf. And I know that's kind of out there.
That is a wild first pick, but I will tell you, Steph Curry was definitely on my top list. What's great about him is he's bringing in a whole other audience into golf.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these people that we'll probably name, which are deservedly so, they already have the golf following. But yes, Steph has a chance to bridge a gap between golf and a much larger market being basketball or sports in general. So suspect first pick, but an amazing pick. For my second pick, I'm going Tiger Woods. Seems like an obvious play. I know that seems like an obvious play, but with his reach, and I think when you look at just what general population associates golf with, and I think if Tiger Woods is playing in any tournament, I don't care if it's a major or if it's just a small tournament, people tune in just for Tiger. And I think you can say that about very few people who are still playing professionally. So I got to go Tiger. I'm not letting him fall to round 3 or 4. Gonna go Tiger, but because you did that with the Steph Curry, I'm gonna mix it up here. I am gonna go Michael Jordan, another basketball legend who has a very close connection to golf. He has one of the most popular courses in Jupiter, Florida, Club 23. I think he's done a lot through his apparel and the Jordan brand and kind of giving a cool, fresh take on golf apparel. So I think he's cemented himself there. I just think he, just similarly to Steph Curry, has the opportunity to bring in an additional audience. So I'm going Michael Jordan.
Great pick. And it was between him or Steph Curry for me. So I get it. Okay. So my next one, kind of bringing it back more to center stage golf, I would have to say Bryson DeChambeau. I still think he is one of the most influential golfers right now, mostly on like his content side of his business. I really think we're going to see Bryson DeChambeau making golf videos until he's 80 years old, at least. And I just, the content doesn't stop. He just keeps coming up with good ideas and good people to collaborate with, that it's whether he's on Live, whether he's on the PGA Tour, it doesn't matter. He's got his own thing going for him, and it's just going to keep going. And then my next one, this is another golf-centered one, but Nelly Korda. I think she's slowly making like her case that she is one of the best female golfers of all time. And I think we're just going to keep seeing her win. Huge TaylorMade sponsorship. I think a lot of the focus was on Lexi Thompson last year until she semi-retired. So now it's back to Nelly, and she's bringing the game a lot closer to a lot of people. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what she does too.
That is a fantastic pick. And back to your Bryson pick, also great. Blends the world between YouTube and professional golf. Couldn't get a better ambassador. Definitely knows how to do content. Those are two great picks, and I love picking Nelly as well. That's a really good one. With my next two, I'm going to go to Scotty, another seemingly obvious one, but I picked Tiger. I would love to have someone in the newer age of players and kind of the future of where golf is for the next decade. You can't go wrong with Scotty. I also think it's underrated how much of a spokesperson and performer he's been. He was included in Happy Gilmore. He's so funny in these like funny commercials that he does. He took getting arrested in stride, which I think many people wouldn't have, and kind of made a joke out of it. Like, I just think he's a lot more than just the number one golfer in the world. So I definitely would want Scotty for the younger talent. And then my next one, I'm really torn. I'm gonna go a little bit. Oh gosh, I'm gonna skip someone, and I'm actually gonna go and get Bobby Berger. I'm going to go get Bob from Bob Does Sports. Like I said, I need someone in that YouTube space. I think he connects with a very different audience than maybe some of the other ones I've selected. So with my fourth pick, I'm going Bobby Berger.
Nice. I mean, I totally agree. Yeah, it's just a whole nother side of the golf world that we all can relate to. Okay, so for my next pick, I think I'll go Grant Horvat. I can't pronounce his name correctly.
That was the one I skipped over, Golden Boy. So
yeah.
That's a tough one.
I mean, like, I consider him a professional golfer in many senses of the word. And I think he could be on that stage. Like, I really do think that if he really wanted it, he could be in there. And I don't know if he really does, like because he's so good at what he does now of being a personality, but also being just an incredible golfer. I would love to see him try to, make it onto some pro events and compete. I just think that would be awesome. But other than that, he seems like a great dude, and he's really fun to watch. And yeah, he's brought in a lot of people for sure.
Nice.
I'll probably go with another professional golfer. And I think it's going to have to be one of these younger guys. The person I have in my mind right now is Nick Dunlap, which I know that's kind of a strange choice, but I have to remind myself that he won a pro tournament as an amateur, which just hasn't happened since Phil Mickelson did it, And so I think he has the potential to be really good because he also had a really bad season. I don't know if it was the whole season, but he had a few pretty bad tournaments, and then he bounced back very quickly. So I'm really excited to see where he's going to go now that he's in, I think, his second full season. I just think there's a lot of opportunity for these young golfers to prove themselves.
Definitely. No, those are two great picks. Yeah, I think I'm glad you got your YouTube star in Horvat, and I do think it's important to focus on the youth. So Nick Dunlap, good choice to finish it off. So I got one pick left. I'm really torn. I was debating like a Michelle Wee West, which for the reasons that you mentioned, Nelly, and just kind of being a great ambassador, especially from the women's side, I think is important. And I might get a lot of heat for this, but I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but I'm actually going to pick Paige. Yes, her numbers are, believe it or not, more followed than Tiger Woods himself. So when you talk
Wow.
about reach, it's quite strong. There is a lot of influence that she has, especially on the young girls game, and I do think that's a side of golf that will continue to grow. And so I'm going to go with the reach on that one, and I'm going to go Paige to close out my squad.
I think that totally makes sense. I think that's a good pick.
Awesome. Well, that's our list. Hopefully, if we ever do start a golf company, we can get half of these names on this list and roll with it. But those are two great lists for sure. All right. So these have become quite famous on social media for a bunch of different things, but essentially, you're going to get a list, Casey, of different things, and then I'm going to ask you to rank them 1 to 8, but you don't know what's coming next. So you got to associate it with 1 being the best, 8 being the worst, and kind of guess where they fit in amongst this list. So golf
Cool.
wouldn't be the same without these 8 things. And I want you to blindly rank these top 8 things in golf. And they can be
Okay.
anything. So we're going to start off with the great one that brings some nostalgia, a hot dog at the turn.
I mean, that's a 3. That's up there.
I love it. 3. That's pretty high. You're a fan of the hot dog at the turn?
Oh, yeah. I'm a fan of especially golf courses where you get onto hole number 9 and there's a phone there and they have you call in your order ahead. There was this great course I used to play that they had that phone there. And when you get it, you have this hot dog that's on this like giant French sourdough roll. And for some, like as a kid, that's just all I remember. And yeah, so that was a good time. That's why that's up there.
I love it. 3. All right, this next one is a good one. Flushing a long iron. So just puring the heck out of a long iron.
I mean, great feeling, but when you get better, you get used to it.
Must be nice.
Yeah. I'll put that at a 7.
Okay. 7. This next one is very special. I'll set it up in the scene. It's a long putt, curving long putt that just never seems to leave the center of the cup.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'll give that a 4.
Okay, perfect. 3, 4, and 7. Next one is a good nostalgic one. After round beers in the clubhouse.
I know this sounds kind of like sad almost, but that's not typically my routine.
Yeah, everyone has their own.
Yeah. So as much as like I would love to do that, a lot of my golf rounds lately are, hey, I have, I can play this twilight round and there's 1 spot left. I'm just going to go play it. So I'll put that down at the bottom.
Number 8.
Then number 8. Yeah.
All right. Next one, you probably do this a lot. It's out driving your playing partner.
Yeah. I'll put in the perspective of like out driving somebody else, like who's very competitive to me.
Yes.
It does feel really good though. I think I'm kind of hoping for some other ones though. So I'm going to say 5.
5's a great spot. All right.
Yeah.
This next one, the elusive golf trip.
I would put that at number 1. Like I've only done a handful, but every time they've just been elite. So that's number 1. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, golf trips, far and few between, but when they happen, it is something special. You got your buds, you got a trip, you got nothing to focus on but golf for a few days maybe, and it's always a good time.
Best.
So golf trips, number 1. Easy. This next one, which I've only done a handful of times, I'm sure you do it a lot, but a well spun wedge. So just wedge shot with nice little backspin, inching right towards the hole.
No, that is one of my favorite shots to hit, and when you nail it, it is a good feeling. What do I have left? 2 and 6. I'll put it at 6.
There you go. Okay. And this last one, which I don't think for you would have made sense, but for a person like me, this is definitely up there. But finding a ball that you thought was lost.
Oh man. So that stays at number 2. But yeah, that's the best, especially when you find it on a subsequent hole. That is like some sort of weird relief where you're like, I knew I didn't lose it. Like I knew it was right where I thought it was or whatever. Yeah, that's a pretty solid feeling.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, it's a second shot at life. You didn't lose that stroke you thought you were about to lose. So that's a good one. Well, great job. This is a crazy list of things, but just a couple things that stuck out to me as some of the great things in golf. So great job.
Fun. All right, so now I'm going to flip it back onto you now. I have a game that I created, and it's called Find the Lie. The lie meaning you need to find, I'm going to give you 5 golf rules, and you have to tell me which one you think is the lie. All right. All right. So here we go. Rule number 1, you can hit a ball while it is moving in water as long as you don't take a practice swing. Okay. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, in the 1980s, when taking a drop, you had to face the hole and drop the ball over your shoulder behind you. So currently, guys like do it at their knee length. In the 80s, you had to face the hole and drop it behind you.
Feel like I've seen that one. So, okay, keep
Okay.
going.
So, all right. Rule number 3, if your ball is embedded in a fruit like an orange, you cannot take relief without a penalty stroke. Okay. That's rule number 3.
Okay.
Rule number 4, when marking your ball on the green, you may use a tee or coin, but not paper money unless it is folded at least twice. Okay.
These are insane.
Yeah. And rule number 5, if you have to hit with a cactus in the way, you can wrap towels around your arms, but not the cactus itself.
You're going to have to say that one more time.
So rule number 5, if you have to hit with a cactus in the way, so like if your ball is underneath a cactus and gets in the way of your swing, to protect yourself, you can wrap towels around your arms, but not the cactus itself.
No way. It started
Okay,
off
so
so
4
hopeful.
of these are real rules, and one of them is a lie.
It started off so hopeful. The first 2 were like real rules. These last 3 are crazy situations.
It
So
did
it's either
escalate.
hitting into fruit, hitting into a cactus.
Want me to read any of them again?
No, I think I'm going to go with hitting into a fruit. I think that would seldomly so few times happen. Whereas like a cactus is there, the water's there, the drop I've seen images. Just for argument's sake, what is 4 again?
4 is when marking your ball on the green, you may use a tee or coin, but not paper money unless it's folded at least twice.
That seems legit. As legit as it comes. I'm talking about fruit and I'm talking about cactus. I'm going to go fruit. That's the obvious one that sticks out to me.
So that is the one that I would have thought originally. What funny enough is that the original rule, they have since updated, but the original rule said if your ball lands in an orange, said that specifically, in an orange, you can look it up. It's called the orange rule. You can't take relief without a penalty stroke. That is still true. So think of it kind of just as your ball is embedded. If it gets embedded in the ground, like we talked about earlier, or embedded in whatever, a fruit, you have to take relief to get it out, or you got to hit it out of there. So it's the same thing, but I guess at one point they had to clarify if it gets into an orange specifically, you got to take a penalty stroke.
I mean, I get the rule because it's like part of nature and it's not like a man-made object. I get that part. It's just crazy that they had to go that specific. It's like there was definitely a tournament way back when where someone hit it into a fruit and someone was like, I'd like relief, please. And they were like, I don't know what to do. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so give me the lie.
So the lie, funny enough, and it's a little bit shifty, but it is also true. When marking your ball on the green, you may use a tee or coin, but not paper money unless it's folded twice. There's nothing that says that I need to find the specific rule about what it can and can't be, but there's no way that you can put something down that can be taken with the wind. And if it does, you get a penalty as well. But so that was the one that I kind of just wrote up as a lie. So always use something else to really set in stone mark your ball.
I thought,
but it sounds real, right? Like
the folding of it like added weight to it. So I was like, okay, it serves a purpose, that rule.
Sure.
But wow. Interesting.
But yeah, the one that got me was the cactus. Can't wrap anything around the cactus, but you can do, I guess put on another jacket to try to protect yourself. But yeah, it's funny.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The other one that I really liked was you can hit a ball while it's moving in water as long as you don't take a practice swing. And I was like, wait a minute, I needed to read about it. So if your ball, like if you hit it into a stream and it's rolling, like the stream's taking it, if you take it out, it's a penalty. But if you just hit it while it's moving, you can hope for the best. But yeah,
I wonder
pretty
if
pretty
there's a rule
surprising.
for how far you're allowed to let it travel. Not that, I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think the rule would be like where it went in is where you could take it out.
but where can you
But
hit it?
if you can hit it, then might as well go for it. If you don't want it to go so far away, I don't know. But I thought that
That's
was a
crazy.
funny rule too.
Yeah, God, golf rules. I can only imagine how thick a full golf rules book handbook would be. But those were great. That's crazy. All right, we're wrapping it up, and we got one more to go. It's how would your dream golf career look like? And we're gonna build it from the ground up. So this is called Spend $15. You got 4 categories. You're gonna have to choose something from each category. You got $15 to spend. Spend it wisely. So the first category we're gonna look at is your highest achievement in your career. For $1, you can be Corn Ferry winner, $2 PGA Tour win, $3 Ryder Cup hero, $4 a major champion, $5 world number 1 and a Masters winner.
This one's easy for me. I would spend the $5 to be world number 1 and a Masters winner. To be able to win on the 18th green at Augusta National, that would be insane.
Okay, let's see how that plays out for your rest of your career. I can't fault you for it. I think every golfer, no matter what level of success they get to, always wishes. I mean, we saw it last year. Always wishes they had a Masters win. Maybe you're Rory. Maybe in this crazy career, you're Rory. Your sponsors. So who's sponsoring you? $1, a local pro shop. $2, Travis Matthew. $3, Strixon. $4, TaylorMade, and $5, Nike.
Well, if I had to be Rory, I would need to go TaylorMade. But I am a huge supporter of your local pro shop, and I try to buy stuff from there when I can, because usually they have cooler stuff than you can buy online. So I'm spending my $1 and supporting my local pro shop.
What a flex to be world number 1 and Masters champion with like Sacramento Hills golf course,
Yeah.
right on your chest. I mean, that's arguably better than Nike. So good call.
Support local
Right?
golf.
Or local golf. You saved a bit of money there. You spent $6. You still got 9 more. You can splash this cash wherever you want. Career winnings: $1 million, $2, $5 million, $3, $25 million, $4, $100 million, and $5, $200 million.
I'm going to save my 5 for the last one and go 4 because $100 million, that's plenty.
You're
That's
so
plenty.
smart. You thought about this so well. Okay. And the last category, which you can choose whatever you want. Don't feel like you have to do 5. Travel vehicle. How are you pulling up to these tournaments? All right. Are you pulling up for $1 in a beat up van? Matthew McConaughey in it. $2 Sprinter van, a little upgrade. $3 Spirit Airlines. $4 commercial flight. That is not Spirit, I guess. And and for $5 private jet.
Oh, man. I mean, I did upgrade on points once to fly one leg of first class, and it was pretty epic. So I'd imagine that a private jet is like that. Maybe you don't get the food, maybe you do, but I'll spend my whole $5 and take the private jet. Why not?
What a great career. I think Rory's got you on maybe the career winnings and the, we'll beg to differ on the sponsor, who has the cooler sponsor, TaylorMade or Nike versus local pro shop. But you have a great career. Get to host the Masters dinner. That's a great career.
I'll take that any day.
Casey, that is the official wrap up of our first podcast ever. Any words?
No, I'm just really excited. This was super fun and looking forward to doing it next time.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining and see you next time.